women, real lives, real talk. Welcome to Charcuterie and Conversations, the Board Squad podcast, where the board is set, the beverages are poured, and we are showing up for you and for each other. Pull up a seat. You are right on time. Welcome to the Board Squad podcast, Charcuterie and Conversations. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that shaped all three of us, being adult children of separation. But before we get into it, let me introduce my co-hosts.
I'm Delise, this is Rhonda, and Summer. And we're going to be having a really insightful conversation today that is going to unpack some of the feelings that we had when we first experienced separation in our families. But first, we're going to talk about this board.
It's an interesting board. This is a different one for us. This is a cheesecake board.
It's a comfort food board.
It is a comfort food board. There's a creme brulee cheesecake. There's a strawberry cheesecake. And then there's a plain cheesecake that is in the middle under that orange slice. I apologize in advance. I've been thinking about dipping the cookie into the cheesecake all morning. So
That's creative.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, let's get into this conversation, ladies.
Here we go.
So I remember when my parents divorced, they separated first and then they divorced. I just remember thinking, I was 5 when they first separated, that my family as I knew it was so different, right? And I think even then I didn't realize the trauma that I experienced until I became an adult. How old were each of you when you had that separation happen in your family between your parents? And what did you realize at that time versus what they told you later?
Ooh.
I
Okay.
know.
So when my parents' divorce was finalized, I believe I was 1. So
Really early.
Yes, really early on. So I don't have any memory, of course, of,
That's what I was
when they
going to ask.
separated or when they, and when the divorce was final. Even making that transition, I don't remember any of that. So, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like I only kind of have bits and pieces of the full story. So it's I don't have any memory of
So
when
it's
they
more
actually
of what
split
they
apart.
told you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's what they told me from their perspectives.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So my parents were not married. They have always been single. I was an oopsie.
Okay.
So,
Well, you're not an oopsie.
But look
no,
at
no,
you.
no.
As a
I mean,
person.
yeah, I'm here. Wonderful.
You're meant to be here. Yep.
But yeah, it was, I think at one point, it's kind of interesting thinking back. I didn't even realize that not having a father in the house was not normal. It was like, oh, this is my normal. It didn't feel day to day with my mom felt like this is what life is. So I didn't really have like the idea or the understanding that there was supposed to even be another parent in the house.
Right. That was your normal.
That was my normal.
Got it.
So I don't know that I actually think the first time I felt the difference was when I started to recognize other fathers in other people's homes. That's when it was like, hey, where's my dad? Where's that person?
Right.
Yeah.
And was that a question you asked your mom once you started to have that realization?
I don't recall. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. I'm trying to think of my earliest recollection of my father was when I probably was in kindergarten or first grade. I think I remember him coming to my school and my mom very casually was like, "That's your dad." And I was like, okay. It didn't register. It was like, okay, oh, this person is my dad. Wonderful.
So it wasn't an ongoing.
There was no emotional connection like
Yeah.
at that point. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Sad.
And
but
then
true.
what about you, Rhonda? How was that in terms of like you were 1, they separated so early. What were the challenges you experienced kind of developing relationships with either your mom or your dad? I don't know. Who did you?
So
who was the primary parent?
So my mom was the primary parent.
Okay.
So I lived with my mom.
Okay.
And I mean, this is like, this is like back in the day. This is like the 80s. So I feel like there's I hear a lot about the different arrangements that people make. Childcare, 60% and 40% and all that.
Now.
It's very different.
Yes.
I think that it was probably in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I lived with my mom and I saw my dad typically on weekends.
Got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was always there. He was always around, but that was kind of always the arrangement that I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a similar situation that I had also. One of the biggest challenges was that my mom was like the discipline, school, work parent. And my dad became fun dad.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's always fun dad. That's the whole thing. Yes, absolutely. Fun dad.
And so that was the hard part. She was I say single mom, right? She's working in the city. I lived in the Bronx, so she's working in Manhattan, a 9 to 5. So you can imagine the 2-hour commute there, the 2-hour commute
not
home.
super glamorous.
Crazy.
No,
not at all.
Glamorous.
And so she didn't have a chance to really do many fun things with me. Like she tried, but weekends with my dad, once I got older anyway and became a teen, like those were like off the chain.
Yeah,
and
go.
she started resenting it.
Yeah.
At some point.
I mean,
did you guys have that experience where your mom maybe have resented the setup, because she was the one who was kind of getting all the things done and dad got to just show up?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think when I was older, my dad reappeared into my life. I think it was in middle school. It was like transitioning from elementary to middle school. And in my head, my mom never really talked poorly about my father. So in my head, I had an idea of who he was. Oh, he was this really smart man. He was all these things. So when he reappeared, I had this sort of fantasy of who my father was. And I think for my mom, it was a double-edged sword that she didn't speak the necessary truth about him or share all the negative. She just really focused on the positive. And how hard it is for my mother to stick to the positive.
Kudos, mommy.
It probably sounds like, whose mother?
We love you.
That's impressive.
So, I did recognize early on that when I would want things from her and nag her and, do the things that kids do when they're being kids. And she would say, well, ask your father. There was, on this side of things, I know that probably really irritated her, that I would put my father in this place of just on this pedestal, and she's the one doing all the work, all the things. And I can see now that some of that would have been she would have been annoyed, really annoyed, but she never really took it out on me. She definitely let dad have it on some calls. Yeah. I do recall that.
Yeah.
But I mean, now it's like, well, he deserved it. He deserved it.
My mom actually didn't speak negatively about my dad at all either. And I feel like sometimes I would try to pull a little something out. Like, what happened? Like it can't be all roses because you guys ended up breaking up. So I remember kind of and she kind of just was like, no.
Oh,
but what I will say too is a little bit different is that my dad was fun and we would go and do, fun things on the weekend. And, I didn't have to worry as much about schoolwork and getting up early in the morning. But my mom was also kind of fun mom too, to an extent. So I feel like I was having fun with both of them. And I think the two people that were instrumental in my childhood and really helping me with my foundational kind of structural things that were really on it with the homework was my grandparents. So my grandmother was a teacher. My mom was a teacher. So, I mean, it's, I was getting a lot of that from my grandmother and then also from my grandfather. So my mom, because she had that level of support as a single mom, she still kind of got to be fun too.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a healthy situation.
Yeah.
That's great. Adult children of separation understandably go through anxiety, depression. There's a lot of big feelings that we have to process, not just then, but as an adult. We don't all get help or therapy or some of that counseling that we need to process those feelings, and we should.
Yes,
but what they don't say about us is that we're incredibly resilient, right?
Yeah.
And that those early struggles have taught us a resilience that some people may not have.
Yeah.
So tell me, in your experience, with all the feelings that you've processed over your life, how is that shaping how you parent your children today?
Oh, what the deep question.
I mean, we're trying to get into it, baby. We want to know.
That's a really
It's
good
not
question.
easy.
No, it's not. I don't know.
It's not easy. And I'm in a household with my husband is from a divorced family. I am too. So it's hard to kind of marry those visions you have for your family.
But I was going to say something similar. I think because I didn't see it, to your point on fantasy with fun dad, right? But there's also kind of like something that you almost get to create creatively from scratch when you didn't see it growing up at all. And so I think it's tough when you grow up and you see your parents kind of like having this experience as a married couple and it's negative. Folks will typically either try to replicate that because it feels comfortable and that's where they feel safe, or they'll do the complete opposite and reject it and go the other direction. Maybe they don't even want to get married or they don't believe in being a committed relationship. I think the blessing in my family, my parents actually getting a divorce, is that I really got to create it from scratch.
That's amazing.
Because I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. So I just did my best and I did it with my partner and we did it together.
That's amazing. I love that.
I think when I got married and then, I adopted my first daughter, I think I leaned heavily on my husband's opinion. He comes from a huge family. He's one of 10.
He's one of 10.
He's one of 10.
I did not know that. Wow.
His parents are still married. And I felt a little bit like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. I don't know what the mother-father relationship is supposed to look like. Especially because in my family, I think one of my aunts is married. The rest are not. My uncles, I wasn't, I was close to, but, not enough to know or see their marriages in action. And so I just didn't have a lot of examples of that. Definitely wasn't going to take the examples that I saw in my neighborhood because it was a lot of dysfunction. So I did lean heavily on that. But then over time, I think I started to build confidence through reading, through just seeing friends and their families, and then, seeing healthy connections, seeing people argue, seeing people resolve things in a healthy way, in a not so healthy way. And early on we did counseling. So I think all of that helped, me to be a better parent. And then because, I started as a foster mom, the organization that Koinonia is the organization that I went through to they train you and they take you through all this stuff to become foster parents. They have extensive training. And I learned a ton of things through that experience. I mean, just about development, about interaction, about how our emotions will affect our children, and, dealing with children who come with trauma. I think it was also important that, my trauma with my father, who was, by the way, an addict. So there was a reason why he wasn't around, helped me to then relate to their trauma. And I think it's why I have a good relationship with them now, them I say, because now I'm fostering the young one, which I can't really talk about because, rules.
Right.
I mean, kudos to you, Summer. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think so.
We're really proud of you.
I mean, breaking the cycle of dysfunction is incredibly important. And I think one of the bigger things is recognizing that there's dysfunction.
Absolutely.
Because it feels normal.
Absolutely.
Some of the stuff you grow up with, you're like, oh, this is normal. I don't this is just the way things are. And people are like, no, that's not normal for for you to yell at your husband like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think about just all of the things that we experience in our life because of that separation. Rhonda, you had a different situation, which is amazing. You being able to create it, I think also helped you develop it through a lens that was really healthy.
Yeah.
Because I consider your marriage very healthy.
1,000%.
Like, seriously.
1,000%.
It's not perfect. It's not perfect.
We know
we get the disclaimer. We received the disclaimer.
We know it's not perfect, but
Yes.
it is very healthy.
And I think there's something to be said when people do say that if you're going to do it, if you're going to separate or divorce, do it really early in the kid's life versus when they're 10, 11, 12, and some of those more challenging ages.
Some of the formative years.
Sometimes you just can't avoid it, but it does make sense if you do it early before they even can remember what happened.
No recollection at all.
Because
but people split for different reasons too, though. I think we shout out to Monica because she's not here today. That's one of our other 40s. So in season 2, Monica disclosed on our podcast that she, I believe, had like finalized her divorce.
Yes, she had finally signed the papers.
Yeah, and she announced it. And so there was a lot of kind of like mixed comments and things online that I saw about that. But I also think that when you see that someone is getting divorced, it could be, the best thing for those two people for a multitude of reasons. And, obviously we're not going to disclose the details of some of the reasoning around that for Monica specifically. But just generally speaking, like two things can be true at the same time. Would we love to see each other be married and happy and thriving and have it? Absolutely, right? But that's predicated on, us wanting our friends to be healthy, to be happy, to be safe. That's always going to come before anything else, our personal well-being and safety. So people get divorced for many different reasons. And so I think that it's important to note that, there may be some challenges if you do get divorced, if your kid is a certain age. At the same time, sometimes that's actually what's best long term. Short term, if you're transitioning, you can have a lot of behavioral challenges and other things that will come up with kids. But if you stay in a toxic home and you're living in a toxic home as a family, that can have really negative implications as well. So I think it's important to dig a little deeper when you're exposing or talking about content around divorce online, but just being mindful of that too as people share their stories. There are a lot of different reasons why people get divorced, and oftentimes it is for the best.
1,000%. Yeah. And I think one takeaway that's important to mention is that for the parents who are doing it, children remember more than you think.
Yes.
And so be careful with what you say and what you expose them to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to do it and you don't know how to say it, go to somebody, read something, figure it out so that you can do it the right way and try to alleviate or like mitigate some of that potential trauma. Like they're still going to be affected by it, but they don't have to be totally broken down by you guys separating.
Yeah, absolutely. You can set up some certain protective factors to kind of counteract some of that, which I think is really helpful if you're able to do it with some intentionality. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's our episode.
That was so quick.
I know. It goes by so fast.
So quick. Got more to say.
I know. Maybe part 2. We got to do part 2.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Board Squad podcast, Charcuterie and Conversations. Please follow us on all platforms. Thanks so much. See you next time.